Okay. Natalia says, I think that in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, there's been a narrative online that's been a really push telling people that they don't need to go to college. So I think that many of them think that they'll just, and her second comment goes on to say that they'll just stream or become a podcaster or do social media, become an influencer in order to be able to make money and find stability in life, right? And I absolutely agree with this take. Okay. But the very interesting thing is that this narrative that's being pushed online is being pushed online by people who actually fit the demographic of those who are able to do this. And the demographic of those that are able to do this would be the wealthy or the rich. And that's because the wealthy / rich, for them, money creates opportunity. For the poor, education creates those opportunities. Right? And so rich people are allowed and welcomed into rooms and spaces by virtue of them having money that otherwise they would need education to be able to get into. I need you to hear me very clearly, Elon Musk, because the reason why he's welcome into these places and spaces is because he has money, not because he has a degree. Now, the very interesting thing in speaking about this administration and speaking about this particular narrative, right, that is being pushed regarding not needing a degree is that when you take a look at those who have successfully done this, become successful, and aren't degreed, right, it is because 9 times out of 10, they are trust fund babies, or they were born into wealth, right? Trust funds, blah, blah, blah. Or it's because of the fact that there was some type of connection that their wealth was able to allow them to have access to. Okay, so even when you take a look at, a lot of the people that used to go to college and dropped out and was able to make millions of dollars and come up with brand new ideas and stuff like that, 9 times out of 10, they come from Ivy League schools. Right? And so what they do is that they go to Ivy League schools for the intention of being able to network, to then partner with other people, to then be able to drop out and start their own business and start their own company. And they get crazy investments and things like that just because an Ivy League school is on their resume that they attended and because of the wealth that typically backs their name. Now, you know what's also very interesting? That someone who fits this bill is J.D. Vance. Right? Because the reason why J.D. Vance was able to attend Yale Law School is because of charity. According to him, he received a very generous package offer to allow for him to attend Yale University's law school. Otherwise, he would have not been able to attend. Otherwise, he would have not been in proximity of wealthy people to even be considered as an option to be given to President Trump as a running mate. Moreover, in his own memoir, you have J.D. Vance that talks about how he felt the class disparity while attending Yale University because J.D. Vance came from a very poor background whose parents were struggling with substance abuse. And so this is the very interesting thing because this goes into classism, right? Because that is the second breakdown when it comes down to white people. White people, first and foremost, in order for them to be able to get the buy-in of the poor, they must convince the poor that they're better than minorities and people of color. After they do that, then they further separate white people into those that are rich and those that are poor. And it is to the benefit of rich white people that poor white people do not grapple with and come to the understanding that rich white people do not like them, do not want them in proximity, and do not want their kids to go to school with poor white kids. And there is also a difference between old money and new money. You must hear me out. And me and my friend was talking about this because she was saying that President Trump and J.D. Vance are equally as bad. And I was like, no, they're not. She was like, what do you mean, no, they're not? I was like, because Donald Trump is old money. And old money doesn't really respect new money. And what you have to understand is that Donald Trump has been rich for decades. Okay? His parents were rich, right? So by the time it gets to him and he's now married and he now has kids. And so there is a transfer of wealth between generations. This is called generational wealth. And so the buy-in that Donald Trump has is merely because he is interconnected with generations of rich people. The difference between Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, hear me, is that J.D. Vance is not rich. And he is not respectable rich. And so what he does not have is the unwavering support of the rich that have been rich, aka old money, for multiple generations. And so if for any particular reason, J.D. Vance would then have to be running the country, do you know how difficult things would be for him to be able to get people on board? Isn't that crazy? Isn't it very interesting how J.D. Vance is among people and he doesn't even know that they don't consider him to be one of them? Bonkers.